Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? All right, as usual, not a whole lot going on in the news, but there is still more news about the conflicts taking place in Iraq against their will for the most part. But I was waiting for the Iraqi people to finally start pushing back, saying, hey, you need to do something about this Iranian-backed militia that's bringing all this unnecessary conflict to our country. So the Iraqi people are getting pretty fed up with it, and they want something done. After 20 years of putting up with this crap, I think they're past ready to be peaceful and get their lives back on track. What do you think? Before we get started, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I certainly do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying gold and silver, head on over to our friends at Miles Franklin. The link will be down below in the description. When you make your purchase, make sure you use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and they'll take care of you. If you have any additional questions, you can reach us over here at this phone number or over here at this particular email. For all orders over $10,000, reach out by email and we'll make sure that you get a great deal. So come on over to Miles Franklin and add to your precious metal inventory. Says Iraq could be pushed into a conflict, the minister warns. So Iraq could be pushed into a conflict by a tit-for-tat attacks on its territory by Iranian-backed militia and U.S. forces, Iraqi Foreign Minister Hussein has told the BBC. The tensions nowadays between Iran and the United States is very high. I hope both sides will stop their attacks. They are not going to solve their problems on Iraqi soil. We paid a very big price. See, this is what I'm talking about. Look, don't bring your bullshit over in our country, is what the Iraqi people are saying. Remember, you had Turkey bombing, U.S. bombing, and Iran bombing over there inside Iraq. In the past week or so, the price has involved a wave of U.S. airstrikes killing 17 fighters from Iranian-backed armed groups. Then came a deadly missile attack on the militia commander, which turned his Jeep into a fireball on a residential street in Baghdad. That attack was condemned by the government here as a clear-cut assassination without regard for civilian lives or international law, a stunning indictment of an ally. So it's kind of hard to really point fingers at the blame here. And what I mean by that is, look, the United States should not be bombing targets inside Iraq. But at the same token, if they are getting attacked by Iranian-backed militia groups coming from Iraq, well, they have no other choice. You just don't like that it's in a residential area and innocent people could get killed. So what this comes down to is Iraq, you have to make a choice. If you want bombing to stop happening in Iraq, you obviously need to focus on what it is the U.S. is bombing and then make sure that they get out of Iraq. The American strikes were the retaliation for the killing of 3 U.S. soldiers in Jordan. The U.S. military says it will continue to take necessary actions to protect its own people. As two sides battle it out, Iraq is getting burnt. The minister said talks had resumed on the withdrawal of 2,500 U.S. troops deployed here as advisors since 2014 to help prevent a resurgence of the so-called Islamic State. The word in government and on the streets is that they would have outstayed their welcome. The majority of Iraqi people do not want to have foreign forces on Iraq soil. Those who have been invited, the Americans, we would do it through negotiations. And those who have not been invited must leave, we hope also through negotiations. The uninvited guests, at least not invited by him, are powerful pro-Iranian militias here who have been targeting U.S. troops. Officially, many are part of Iraq's security forces. Critics say they are foot soldiers for Iran. So why are they part of your security forces? That's only because Iranian-backed politicians allow this. If you want this kind of conflict to stop, you need to take a stance and oust all those Iranian-backed people. But it won't happen. They're afraid that Iran will attack them. The minister says the militias are now being challenged. A challenge from the past when speaking out meant threats. This is a new moment in Iraq. Did you hear that? The militia are now being challenged. This is a big move for Iraq, because in the past, if you even did uprisings and protests, then the security forces would actually shoot innocent protesters. If now you talk with many political leaders, they're starting to talk about this. Many people, they didn't dare to talk about it. This is also part of the reality of this country. But now we are talking about it. People dare to say to those guys, it's enough. And who exactly are they talking to? My guess it's going to be the higher up in government who are all backed by Iran. And he says the militia have got the message that if they continue, they will push this country into a war. While it is not our war, this message has also been received in Tehran. So good, they're taking a stance. Like I said in the past, politicians could get assassinated, protesters can get shot at. So this seems to be like a different type of Iraq. It still remains to be seen whether or not they could do this. The foreign minister admits that Iran has influence here, but denies it is dictating policy in Baghdad. I find that hard to believe, only because of Maliki. It is more of a consistent negotiation, according to Dr. Mansour, a senior research fellow of the Chatham House, an international affairs think tank in London. Do they have to listen to Iran? Sometimes yes, and sometimes no, he said. It depends. The Iranians come in and say, this is our bottom line. This is our red line. Often they converge, but sometimes they diverge. It's not as black and white. But the fact that you have another country giving them a bottom line or a red line in Iraq, that's not okay. The Iranian influence looms large here, in politics, in militia, and in the streets. Among the blast walls and the palm trees, you find posters of Soleimani, the top Iranian general killed in Baghdad airport in January 2020 by U.S. airstrikes. Here and there, the face of Iranian supreme leader, the Ayatollah, gazes down on the choking traffic. Some of the tuk-tuk taxis screeching around the square in the afternoon sun have pictures of Sheikh Nasrallah, the Iranian-backed leader of Hezbollah, the most powerful armed force in Lebanon. I asked the foreign minister if he was worried about the degree of Iranian influence here. I'm worried about the degree of all the influence surrounding us, not only Iranian. We are trying to get rid of all those influencers. The decisions about Iraq must be taken in Baghdad, and it must be taken by the Iraqis in Baghdad. For now, the country is ensnared between its two feuding allies. Iran and the U.S. neither may want a major escalation in this conflict, and it appears they do not, but it cannot be ruled out. Pro-Iranian armed groups here have vowed to step up their attacks on U.S. forces after the killing of militia commander in Baghdad. His assassination violated all rules of engagement, said a statement from the Islamic resistance of Iraq. We call on our brothers in jihad to join the ranks of the resistance to expel these occupations. It was always my understanding that in order to call jihad, you had to go through all the ranks. It takes a little while. You better have a good reason why you want to do it before they call it. That doesn't seem to be the case anymore. The situation remains volatile, according to the United Nations envoy for Iraq, Ms. Plassart. Iraq, indeed, the wider region, remain on a knife's edge, she said, with the tiniest miscalculation threatening a major conflagration. So it is good to see that the Iraqi people are speaking up. It's also good to see that there are Iraqi politicians speaking up against those people who are backed by Iran. Something has to change. They're fighting like crazy to get back on the international markets, to get with the World Trade Organization, to get infrastructure done, to do what it takes to rebuild Iraq. But if you have Iranian-backed politicians who are not there to help the Iraqi people, what do? You need to make a choice. What do you guys want? If they're not there making decisions on behalf of the Iraqi people, then you need a new group of politicians, in my opinion. Anyways, I look forward to hearing what you have to say, and I will catch you later. I'm out.